You'll need to know the main political parties that are contesting in UK general elections and just a little bit about kind of political leanings. So if we have a look at the board, you've all got this as a handout, and this has got on it the spectrum of political beliefs within this country. So it's usually known as left and right wing. So that's not just something in football, it means which way your political leanings lie. So if we start with right wing then, at extreme right, you've got fascism. So we're talking about people like Hitler, Mussolini, and all those kind of things. Truly believed fascism is the belief that your country and your people are superior and better than anybody else. That's extreme fascism. Before that, before you go to the extreme right, then you have got quite right-wing groups in this country. There used to be a political party called the BNP, the British National Party, who held somewhat racist beliefs and very much about nationalism, you might have heard of, which means that you believe putting your people first. It's not as extreme as fascism, but it is going along that way. Before that then, if we work backwards, so we're not at extreme anymore, we're going towards UKIP, and you will all have known about UKIP from the Brexit debate and referendum. So UKIP, UK Independence Party, wanted freedom from the EU. They wanted to stop as much as possible immigration, and again, it's about putting British people first. So the more right-wing you are, you can see it kind of goes up the scale from being proud of your people to kind of thinking they're the ones who need to be looked after most. Then if we have a look, you go kind of down and you've got what's called centre or neutral, which means you're a bit of both. Conservatism is the belief that the Conservative Party follow, which is quite self-explanatory. And conservatism is right-wing, but if you look at various Tory governments, so for example, under David Cameron, they were only slightly right wing, so they were what's called centre right. Under Boris Johnson, they have been more right wing with more traditional views. But if we have a look at conservatism, then that is the belief in traditional values. So they would really hope for mom to be at home looking after the kids, married mom and dad out working. They do understand that in today's society, with today's economy, it is usual for both parents to work. However, they would prefer it if the mom was the main carer, primary carer for children, and follow that kind of traditional nuclear family route. They also are known to represent what's known as the bourgeoisie, and any of you that study sociology at A level will come to understand that the bourgeoisie are the middle class or the ruling class, kind of the owners, the bosses, those kind of people. And they're very much about representing what's called meritocracy, which is where they believe if you work hard, you follow the rules, you apply your knowledge, your understanding to tasks, you work up the job ladder, you get promotions, you get rewarded with what you deserve. So hard work gets results. And that's the way that you should live your life. They believe that life chances aren't really affected by too many things like gender or ethnicity or where you're from, and that pretty much everybody's on an equal playing field, and if you work hard you get the results you deserve. They believe in traditional gender roles. So for example, like I've said earlier, mom stop at home with kids, dad out to work, although there is some movement on that though. They also believe in individualism, so it's about putting you and your family first, not worrying so much about the community as a whole, although they have in recent years developed this idea of local communities doing more for themselves. So again, that is slightly changing. They believe in free trade and enterprise. It's all about the market economy. It's about business. So you do well in your company, you sell more products, you get more money, you earn more money. You should all, aim to own your own home. And it's about making that private wealth for yourself. That's their kind of core understanding of how the world should be. So it's an accumulation of personal wealth. And they will also believe in strong law and order, so strong punishments, and about actually punishing the person. Although they do believe in rehabilitation, they do believe that sanctions need to be harsh. So that's conservatism. In the middle, you've kind of got liberal, and liberal is about people being able to vote. It's very democracy heavy. So, for example, when we had the Brexit referendum, that's really a key part of liberalism, because it's about people making the decisions for themselves, and Liberal Democrats would fall under that. Then we move to the left. So left wing, slight of left wing under Keir Starmer, the new leader of the Labour Party. They're very slightly left of centre. Under Jeremy Corbyn, who was much more of a socialist leader, they were quite far left wing. So even within political parties, they vary within the degree of their political understandings and political beliefs on the spectrum. But Labour Party are more left wing than right wing. If we have a look at socialism, then socialism is a belief that's really about, like what it says, social. It's about the community, it's about people. Socialists traditionally represent the working class. So again, if you are doing sociology, you'll hear the word proletariat, and they were the workers. So it's about the working class, very heavily linked with unions, who represent workers' rights, very heavily linked with equality and looking out for the interests and needs of everybody rather than the ruling few. Their values are in collectivism, so it's about being part of a group, part of a society, part of a community, looking after one another. The whole nation is our responsibility. We look after everybody. So, for example, they do believe in social welfare and benefits. They believe that we must look after everybody within community, within the whole country. The other thing they believe in is a nationalised industry, which means that the state owns big institutions like your gas companies, your electricity, your railways, your transport, your schools, your education, your healthcare. All of that is run by the state, which means therefore it is run literally by us. We fund it through our tax money and we get the results from it. The NHS is a massive part of that. When we looked at the economies, remember we looked at command and market and all those kind of things. So this is the one where state institutions run things for the public, okay? And the reason why they believe in that is because then it's not about a business. It's not about who can sign up the most people to their gas company, offer the best deal and make the most profit. It's not about profit. It's about serving the people. It's about us working as a community together, okay? The other thing that they believe in is negotiable social roles. So maybe the dad does want to stay at home and look after the kids. That's fine. Mum can go out and work. Maybe you're a man and you want to become a woman. That's absolutely fine. So it's about social roles not being fixed and whatever works for you as a family. They also primarily believe in a distribution of wealth. So that means that instead of the boss getting this massive paycheck at the end of the month, that actually the workers get a fairer wage. So it's about that equality, society being more equal and open and understanding. On the far left, and you'll see you've got Green Party, who are more left than Labour. On the far left, you've got something called communism, which is extreme left. And that basically is the extreme version of socialism. It means nothing is privately owned. Everybody works for the community. You don't get a wage for your job. You just work for your community. So essentially, the state runs everything. Nobody gets paid an individual wage as such. You are all equal. The issue is with communism, it sounds great in theory, but in practice it never works. There's never been a true communism that Karl Marx, again, if you study sociology, you will learn who he is, would have approved of. There usually becomes a leader who pushes through and makes it all very, very bad. So true communism has never really existed. So have a think about it. Where on that political spectrum would you put yourself? No, there is no pressure to conform to any political belief whatsoever. Citizenship is not about telling you what to think, it's just making you think. Our aim is to get as many of you involved in politics and wanting to vote as possible. Okay, so we're going to have a brief look at the main political parties. If you've got access to the textbooks, you can make yourself some notes on liberalism, socialism and conservatism. So if we have a look, the Conservative Party then, the Conservative Party are in government now. Their leader at the moment is Boris Johnson, and they are on the right side of the political spectrum. So they think that individuals should own and control businesses and services. It's about making profit. The government shouldn't interfere with these things. The problem is it creates a gap between the rich and the poor people. They think that's not really for the government to sort out. It's kind of a survival of the fittest thing. That's saying it in its harshest terms, okay? Tax should be low. They believe in a low tax so that you keep as much money as you can possibly earn. And if you remember from classes when I've told you how much tax I pay, you can see why some people are drawn to that argument. They think that because businesses and services are privately owned, people will have more money to spend on those things instead of the government taking all of your money and choosing for you what it should be spent on. The community, lots of traditional values, so strong communities in families, strict discipline and respect. That will help cut crime, and criminals need to be treated harshly. Traditions such as the monarchy and the House of Lords are important to British history, they believe. It should be left as it is, there shouldn't be any change to it, and little interference from the EU. So therefore, a lot of Conservatives, although not all Conservatives at all, were on the side of Brexit. David Cameron, who was the Prime Minister at the time who introduced the Brexit referendum, he actually wanted to remain. So like we have said in class before, Brexit was not along party lines. Okay, the Labour Party, they are the opposition, the official opposition. They think the government should work with private companies to provide good public services. The government should be involved in helping to close the gap between rich and poor by giving them opportunities for those in need. Public services like schools and hospitals need funding from the government to provide good quality services that are available for everyone to use. So things like private schools, private healthcare, that's more Conservative based. Most Labour people, or particularly Labour under Jeremy Corbyn, would have supported state funded schools, therefore not private, and state NHS, not private healthcare. There needs to be different levels of tax depending on how much you earn, and the more you earn, the more you should pay. Otherwise, you get a group of really, really rich people and a group of really, really poor people, and the tax is used to provide those services. Communities need to be strong by promoting tolerance and respect for all, so linking to our British values. Everyone should enjoy individual rights, but they've got to understand they've got responsibilities to those around them. Labour, a lot of Labour people would have been on the side of remaining in Europe, although again there were some people who aren't. And Labour Party under Keir Starmer is different to how it was under Jeremy Corbyn and so on. Okay, the Liberal Democrats then, Lib Dems is what it's shortened to, and they're somewhere in the middle. They're kind of middle ground. They believe in personal freedom, fair and open society. They believe in equality and strong communities. They do believe in free healthcare and education, but they do want businesses to flourish as well. The poor and those in need should receive help from the government. Might mean an increase in income tax. And also a big push on the environment as well. They think it's more important to deal with the causes of crime than just the punishment of criminals. And they were very much in favour of holding a Brexit referendum, not a breakfast referendum. Okay, so there are some questions on the screen then. So some people would argue that all parties are the same. Why is that not true? What do we know about them? Do you fully support one party, or do you like some policies of one, some policies of another? And even though you guys can't vote until you're 18, what could you do to take part?